Today I want to talk about the book Beyond Belief, My Secret Life Inside Scientology and My Harrowing Escape by Jenna Miscavige and Pulitzer. I have always been interested in the inside workings of Scientology, and this book had quite good reviews, so I thought I would give it a go, as I had just finished The Witness Wore Red and I really enjoyed it. The first thing I noticed upon buying this book was that it was quite a lot shorter than The Witness Wore Red, which is also an escaping cult story, so I was immediately curious. This review has been broken into two parts. The second part of this review will come out next week. This book opens with 6-year-old Jenna signing a million-year contract to serve the Sea Org and Scientology. It then goes on to describe her early life. She was a third-generation Scientologist. Both her parents were fully committed Scientologists working for the Sea Org. She only got to see them 1 hour a day, or half a day a week. She was raised mostly by nurseries and her older brother, but Jenna thought this was completely normal. As Jenna got older, sometimes she would not see her parents for weeks or months at a time. I found it really weird reading this book that all the Sea Org members live jointly with their families, and the Scientology obsession with the ocean and the Navy is really weird. It also explains how Jenna's uncle, David Miscavige, the head of the Scientology church at the moment, made his power grab after the death of L. Ron Hubbard. This book also talks about the amount of secrecy in Scientology, even among families. Jenna moves to the Ranch, a Scientology base for raising children. From the outside it looks like a military boarding school. She lives there with a group of older children, including her brother. But the ranch was not yet complete, and the children had to do most of the physical work. They worked up to 14 hours a day. The ranch was designed to look like a military-style boarding school, so people in the outside world wouldn't question it. Jenna describes how all the children on the ranch were treated as adults and expected to do adult jobs. Treating children like adults was disturbing to read about, especially when we are talking about 5- and 6-year-olds. There was no formal schooling at the ranch, and no contact whatsoever with the outside world. Jenna hated the ranch, and even tried to run away, but was unsuccessful. Every time Jenna complained about the hard physical work and the long days, she was told to toughen up. Jenna eventually came to the realization that there was nothing to do at the ranch but follow the rules. She does continue to see her parents, even if it is sporadically, and she is slowly becoming aware that her parents and her Uncle Dave and his wife Shelley are treated very differently to other members of Scientology. They have cars and personal servants. This becomes very evident when Jenna goes to visit her mum in Florida for her 10th birthday. She is in awe at the respect her mother commands and the beautiful apartment her mother lives in alone. Her mother even has a chauffeur. It is very sad, though, that Jenna's mother doesn't even recognize her at the airport because she sees her so seldom. I have to point out it is so weird that everyone in Scientology, especially in the Sea Org, call people of superior rank Sir or Mr. Even if they are young women, it is really creepy. The difference between Jenna's life and her mother's shocks her, and Jenna decides then and there she will graduate from the ranch and join the Sea Org so she can have a lovely life just like her mother's. Jenna starts doing a clay table auditing course in Florida and living with her mother, who she hardly ever sees. The claymation course seems really strange, and it is even weirder that Jenna has to sign a contract that says if she ever tries to leave the Sea Org or Scientology, she will be billed $4,000 for having taken the course. You have to remember at this point Jenna is 10 or 11. This is so messed up. It'd be like giving your child a bill for Christmas presents. Jenna goes back and forward from the ranch to Florida and completes 2 more courses, which seem to be mainly about understanding language. Her mother has also got a new male friend and is more distant from Jenna. I think her mom is probably having an affair. We find out later that she is. Her mother also starts being a little bit rude towards her and embarrassing her in public on purpose, calling her out in front of people and giving her deodorant when she is 11 and telling her she smells. But this seems to be standard Scientology behavior. During her time in Florida, Jenna spends more time with her Uncle David and her Aunt Shelley, and she enjoys it. But after spending the time with them, she realizes they bully the people around them quite a lot. But they are always nice to her, and she decides to ignore their behavior. Then her mum gets a job back in LA and they move there. Her mum is very unhappy at having to move. Jenna goes back to the ranch, but this time finds it easier to deal with the work because she is older. Then she starts her endless Scientology courses again. They are mind-numbing to read about because Jenna goes into minute detail about floating e-meter readings, memorizing quotes from LRH, staring at walls. They are mind-numbing to read about and mind-numbing for Jenna to have to endure. And somehow she has skipped ahead without passing any of them, probably because of who she is. And she goes back to Florida to join the Sea Org. Florida isn't the same though, because her mother isn't there, so Jenna has none of her previous privileges. All the girls she rooms with are much older than her, and she finds making friends very difficult. The course she is now on is for adults, not children, and she struggles with it. It sounds insane. They have to yell at ashtrays for hours and forcibly practice keeping people in rooms. I don't really get it, and it was really boring to read about. There is also the Scientology bull baiting that goes on, and a lot of it is of a sexual nature, which makes the 13-14-year-old Jenna really uncomfortable. I am not surprised it made her uncomfortable. It makes me uncomfortable, and I'm an adult. Jenna openly admits, in hindsight, this was a course that taught members of Scientology how to brainwash people, or clear them, as Scientologists say. Jenna is really unhappy and calls her mum to tell her so. Her mother books her a flight back to LA, but just as she is leaving for the airport, she is pulled away by a Sea Org member and interrogated for hours. She never gets to leave, and after that she doesn't get to talk to her mother again, and she is really worried. After weeks of trying to reach her mum, she gets to leave for LA, and her dad tells her that her mother has been sent away to lower conditions to readjust and repent, called RPF, because it's been discovered she has been having an affair. But he tells Jenna in this weird robotic manner, using all the Scientology words, and it just feels so inhuman. Jenna is a little upset but not surprised. Like me, she had guessed what was going on. Jenna has no contact with her mother then, until her Uncle Dave asks her to write her mother a letter to tell her to behave, because apparently her mother is being uncooperative and refusing to do her courses. This is a very odd, manipulative thing to do. Ask a 13-year-old girl to write a letter to tell her mother to behave? Jenna goes back to Florida and continues all her weird studies and courses. She is also now looking after higher-up Sea Org members, doing their laundry and whatnot. She is also made to fill in all these really strange forms that ask everything from your date of birth to how often you masturbate. With everything Jenna has to do, she is on the go 24/7, getting maybe 4 or 5 hours sleep a night. But it plays on Jenna's mind why she is being asked all these weird questions. I have to admit, at this point halfway through the book, I was struggling to stay interested. Jenna goes into insane amounts of detail about the courses and auditing she undertakes, and they are all extremely similar and dull to read about. I was halfway through the book, and apart from Jenna's mother's affair, nothing of interest had really happened, and my initial curiosity had worn off. But I kept going. Jenna's mother now wants to leave Scientology, and Jenna is flown to LA to see her mother to convince her to stay. This is so manipulative on the church's part. Her mother agrees to stay, on the agreement that they can now write open letters to each other. During this time, Jenna's brother also leaves Scientology, and this really upsets Jenna, but she cannot show her emotions. Back in Florida, Jenna is feeling happy for the first time. She likes her job in the Sea Org, and she has her first boyfriend, Martino, who is getting her to think a little bit more deeply about Scientology. For the first time in Jenna's life, she considers the fact she may not be a Thetan. The problem with Jenna having a boyfriend is that Martino is a cadet, and Jenna is a Sea Org member, and it is forbidden for a Sea Org member to date a cadet. The whole thing blows up when David Miscavige, Jenna's uncle, finds out. He is convinced Martino is only using Jenna for special treatment, and it is not really clear why he thinks Martino is doing this, but Jenna is punished very harshly and physically restrained from leaving the Sea Org base. It is at this time Jenna starts noticing how people around her bully the staff below them and manipulate people from their exalted rank. As punishment, Jenna is forced to do lots of e-meter session readings, and she starts making stuff up simply to make the sessions end faster. Jenna is very upset at this time and decides to try and call her brother, but when her brother answers the phone, he tells her that all his family are dead to him and to never call him again. She didn't even get to tell him what the problem was. But there is a silver lining for Jenna, as her parents are back together. She is getting back on track as well, and just as things are getting back to normal, Jenna is reprimanded again and treated very harshly, and she immediately assumes it is because she has restarted her relationship with Martino. She has no idea what she has done wrong, and thinks it might be because her family name is Miscavige, and her aunt and uncle want to teach her humility, so Jenna has to restart her course of punishment all over again. During her e-meter readings, she continues to make stuff up, now going further and inventing past lives. She isn't sure if she is lying or making it up, or if it really happened, but the e-meter reading needle floats, and she gets out of the readings faster, so she continues to do it. She can't tell what is real and what is made up, because she has been brought up her entire life to believe in past lives. This is the end of the first part of this review. If you enjoyed this review, please like this video and leave a comment with your thoughts on Scientology. You can also follow me on Instagram at Lady Jessica Riddell. Until next time, try and remember we are all alien souls sent to Earth by a galactic warlord. According to Scientology. Bye!